Hello kids, and welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to be reading A Package Marked Return to Sender, written by Mayman Lyset. My neighbor is one of those annoying wannabe YouTube personalities. Over the years, I've seen him cough out cinnamon, lie flat on the roof of his cars, and douse himself in lukewarm water. It can get exhausting to watch him go about his shenanigans in the pursuit of viral fame. So, when he knocked on my door the other day and told me he was going away for a few weeks and asked if I could get his mail, honestly, it was a relief. Can't even begin to explain the peace of mind I had knowing I wouldn't have to brace myself for any of his stupidity for a while. I was always afraid one of his stunts would wind up bleeding over into my life. Things were pretty normal for the first couple of days. He received a few bills, a bit of spam, and what I could only imagine was a birthday card. Then, one evening, I got home to find a big cardboard box waiting on his front porch. In big red letters was written, "Return to Sender." Now, I'm no small fry, but I'll admit I had a bit of trouble lifting that box on my own. It was really freaking heavy. Lugging it across the road to my house was even harder, and I quickly realized there was no way I was going to drag it up the stairs and through my front door. I decided to leave his package in my garage. It wasn't like I kept my car in there. The garage door was a piece of shit that refused to open without a good thug and a whack. It was less trouble just leaving the car in the driveway than it would be to fight the garage door every morning and night. In hindsight, I should have set the package down while I struggled to open that tricky door. But you know how it is when you got a good grip on something. No point in setting it down if you don't have to. It was as I kicked at the door for a third time that I lost my grip on the package and it fell to the ground. I heard a light crack from inside. Shit! I hoped I hadn't broken anything important, but I figured I just wouldn't tell my neighbor about it and let him assume it happened en route. Hands-free, I finally managed to get that damn door unstuck, and boy did it screech in protest as it rolled up over me. I dragged the box the rest of the way in, setting it in the corner for whenever my neighbor would come back to claim it. And then, I forgot all about it, until a few days passed, that is. I'm not quite sure exactly how long it took for that smell to waft in from the crack under the garage house door, but it came in slow progression. It was a sickly sweet odor, similar to a skunk. For the first few days that I smelled it, I genuinely assumed that's what it was. Some roadkill that had left its mark on my house. It was only when I realized the scent was growing more intense instead of fading away that I went looking for its source. That's when I opened the garage door, and that's when that odor knocked me back, holding my nose. Culprit wasn't hard to identify. The only change in my garage was that box in the corner. I remember thinking it must have been one of those meat of the month subscription boxes, and the meat must have gone rancid from being left out of the fridge for so long. How much meat could have been left in there for the box to be so large and heavy? An entire fucking cow? I covered my nose as I approached the box, a pair of scissors in my hand. Probably wouldn't have even needed them to open it. It had become so soggy that I could have poked through the bottom with my finger. But I wasn't about to poke my finger into those spoiled meat juices. That soggy bottom was the reason I had to open the box in the first place. If I tried to drag that thing out whole, everything would spill out onto the floor. I was gonna have to dump the pieces of meat into a garbage bag one at a time and then take them down to the dumpster. Process I was not looking forward to. My scissors tore through the tape at the top of the box. Thought the smell couldn't get any worse, but as I flipped those flaps open, I discovered a whole new garment of stink. It was like opening a burning oven, but instead of a heat wave, I was met with waves of piss, sweat, shit, and putrefaction. It was so bad that I staggered back and had to force down the puke, begging to guzzle out of me. I don't think I could have handled that scent mixed with the horrors coming out of the box. I'm not ashamed to admit I ran out of the door for a breath of fresh air, but in the short time I'd spent in that garage, the smell had become so integrated into the fabric of my clothes that it clung to me like a shadow. Nothing I tried could keep that smell out of my nostrils. Not air fresheners, not a face mask, not 3 showers and a change of clothes. Every second that box lay open in my garage was another second the smell was allowed to take hold of my home. I had to bite the bullet. I returned to the garage. The flaps of the box were still open, as though inviting me to look. I was prepared. Clothespin pinning my nostrils shut, garbage bag in one hand, the strongest cleaner I could find in the other, and long rubber gloves to keep my skin from having to touch whatever was inside. But as it turns out, I needed none of those things. I wouldn't have to touch or clean the contents of that box. I would only have to suffer the nightmares every night. See, there was meat in that box, but it didn't come from a cow or a pig. No, it was worse than that. It was my neighbor, dead. Still in one piece, but dead. I called the cops, and naturally they took me in for an interrogation. It's kinda hard not to suspect the man with a corpse in his garage after all. They Thankfully, they soon realized I wasn't involved. My DNA might have been all over that box. The smell might have left its mark throughout my house. And there was one piece of irrefutable evidence in my neighbor's own hands that proved my innocence. A vlogging camera. They showed me the footage only once. I'm not sure if they were allowed to or if they just felt so bad for me they figured it couldn't hurt. Either way, I saw it. My neighbor was sitting in a box outside of a shipping factory, laughing as he told the world how he was gonna mail himself across state lines. He brought pee bottles, food, a pillow, a few flashlights. His friend, a guy that I'd seen at his place several times to help with his stunts, closed the lid and presumably dropped him off for shipment. Throughout the next couple of hours, or days, I'm not even quite sure, my neighbor recorded a few short clips about his progress. I think I'm in the truck now. I can feel it moving. It must be in a warehouse. Pretty warm in here. Still got plenty of food. That kind of stuff. And then, on the last entry, the box toppled over, broke his neck, and that was it. Camera recorded until either the memory card got too full or the battery died. There's one thing I didn't tell the police after they showed me that video. One thing that I heard in the footage that will haunt me till the day I die. Just after the tumble that broke his neck, I heard the familiar screeching of my garage door. A classic. Thank you again for tuning in, kids. Have a lovely day. Stay safe. I'll see you tonight.